This is Iris Lloyd, president of CUPE New Brunswick, and you are listening to CUPE Talks in the Maritimes with Nick and Chris.
Do you have any takeaways that you're going to be taking from the courses that you've learned so far?
Yes. So I've done a lot of the single day training courses through CUPE already. And one of the most valuable things is speaking and discussing events and experiences with the other participants.
And I would love to see more members get involved with anything, whether it's start out on a small committee. We want to see,
Can you tell us a little bit about what you've learned here this week?
It's a great learning experience, and as long as I've been around and involved, I'm still learning.
I am Nicholas London, co-host of CUPE Talk in the Maritimes.
I'm Chris Watson, president of the New Brunswick Federation of Labour and co-host of CUPE Talk in the Maritimes.
Hi, my name is Brian Watson, former president of CUPE New Brunswick and now the producer of CUPE Talk in the Maritimes and across Canada.
Wes Wills, Local 380 Vice President.
Hey, this is Justin Spooner, Region DVP and First Vice President of CUPE 1253.
I'm Shelby Dodge, President of Local 3226.
Karen Tier, President of the New Brunswick Council of Nursing Home Unions.
I'm Jamie Agnew, and I'm the President of CUPE Local 963, representing New Brunswick Liquor Store, Retail, and Warehouse Workers.
I'm Sherry Hillier, President of CUPE Newfoundland and Labrador, and General Vice President for the Atlantic Maritimes.
I'm Cheryl Ann Keown, and I'm the Healthcare Council President, PEI, and I also sit on Local 805.
Hello, this is Kathy Johnson, President of CUPE 5446.
Hi, my name is Dorinda Smith. I'm from Local 813.
I'm Teresa McAllister, Provincial President of CUPE 2745 Educational Support Staff.
Bonjour, ici Alain Soucy, membre du SCFP, Syndicat canadien de la fonction publique.
Hey everyone, this is Candice Rennick, CUPE's National Secretary Treasurer, and you're listening to CUPE Talk in the Maritimes.
Hey, this is Mark Hancock, CUPE National President, and you're listening to CUPE Talk in the Maritimes.
And with that said, I am Nick, joined alongside the New Brunswick Federation of Labour President and my co-host, Chris Watson. Chris, welcome back.
Maliki Maka Nick. As you can tell, I've been listening to a lot of Christmas music, and apparently that means Merry Christmas to you.
Well, you know what, brother? It is moving into December. We have got a jam-packed show tonight, a jam-packed December. Of course, I'll be heading out. I'll be in Halifax for the second week of December, which is facilitator training. Very excited. God only knows where you will be, brother, because that can change in an instant.
Yeah, no, you're right. You never know where you're going to see me. Usually it's on the highway. So if you see me out there, give a honk and a wave. But make sure it's a wave and a solidarity fist because, no fingers.
Well, I know how much you love that fist. Yeah, and not to mention the fact that, as you used to say to me, everywhere you go, Bob turns up. Well, it's kind of the same with you right now. Everywhere we go, it's like you turn up there too.
Sometimes, right? And it's funny you say that about Bob because just this past weekend, I was privileged to be over in the beautiful province of Prince Edward Island. And who happened to be at the Federation of Labour Convention there but Mr. Bob Keys.
Well, you don't say. Hey, let's talk about that. How was that? You were over there for the weekend. You and a boatload of people over there celebrating. It was the Federation of Labor's for PEI, the ATM. Of course, you saw a lot of our comrades, a lot of people you see often, but then some faces you haven't seen in a while. How was it, brother?
Yeah, it was really good. It was their 60th AGM, and they had quite a few delegates there, actually. They had, I would say, more than 80 delegates for sure. But, all the different sectors of delegates there were there and were represented. There was an election that happened. But again, some of the voices, like you said, that you hear in our opening, you get to see these members. And sometimes either, you've met them and you haven't seen them in a long time, or you've met them through Facebook and things like that. You never actually get to meet them in person. So it's nice to go over there and kind of do that. But it's nice to hear, some of the debate that goes on with their resolutions and everything as well. And I can tell you that the fight here in New Brunswick is quite similar to the fight in Prince Edward Island. And it's quite similar to the fight I heard down in Nova Scotia, and it's quite similar to the fights that we're facing all across Canada. So our struggles aren't unique. So, solidarity, and that's one of the biggest things coming out of that convention. We talked about CUPE Local 830, when they got up and spoke about that, getting a standing ovation before even talking about the strike, and then another standing ovation upon closing, just showed that, the amount of solidarity that was shown not only for these workers, but for all workers across Canada right now was huge. So I was really glad to be there and take part in it. And we have some people actually that were there that want to be interviewed for here at CUPE Talk in the Maritimes. So stay tuned for future episodes of that.
I think that's great. And when you say about, we have a similar fight going on here and a similar fight going on there, and then across Canada, but I can second that, because on today's show will be Jamey Mills from the PSAC, the regional vice president in British Columbia, who is going to break down a lot of what is happening with the federal budget. And as most of the people heard last week on the show with Candace and with Lily, you're going to see just how much this is really already beginning to affect people. So, Chris, that's going to be a great interview. I can guarantee it. And then one of yours and I's favorite people, the president of CUPE Prince Edward Island, Ashley Clark, is on the show today, doing I believe the third installment of Where Did It All Start? A very unique story coming from her that she's able to, and I know Lisa will like this when she hears this, very much a wrestling CUPE promo, and wrap it all into a neat package, and you get Ashley Clark. And if you guys listen to the show, you'll understand everything I just said right there. Honestly, it was that good.
Yeah, no, her and I we had the chance to sit down in convention, and she was talking about some of the different things. I'm not going to spoil any of it for anybody, but we talked about some of the different things that I had kind of picked up that were wrestling related into some of her speeches and stuff. And it's just very, very awesome, person to sit down and talk to. So I know viewers and listeners are gonna really enjoy that segment, just learning about where she came from and what led up to where she is now. So awesome segment.
Absolutely. And of course, New Brunswick, new Democratic Party leader, Alex White will join us here tonight on the show. Another great interview and possibly future segments. And I have to bring up, of course, the conversation we'll be having with CUPE 1281, the YUFA subunit. So just a jam-packed show all around tonight, Chris.
Yeah, no, there's all kinds of great information, great topics, great signs of solidarity. And viewers are going to I hope you enjoy it. We put a lot of work into these, and, it's a lot of time zone connections taking place for a lot of the different interviews. But it just shows that, people in the labor movement are willing to step up and keep everyone engaged as to what's going on.
Well, I'll tell you, me and Jamie had a lot of fun looking at that time zone. We did. I mean, British Columbia and New Brunswick, we had a good laugh prior to the interview and after the interview. So, he's a wonderful person. So, just very quickly, Chris, lots going on right now here in New Brunswick. What's on your agenda for the month of December?
Right now, I think the month of December, it's going to be pretty busy. Actually, right now, we're working on AI, responding back to AI, not only in the federal budget, but some of the comments that were made by the provincial government and some of the government's news releases most recently about trying to do some studies and stuff like that into the call centers. So going to be doing a interview hopefully later on this week with the New Brunswick Media Co-op So stay tuned for that as we address AI in the workplace. And this is also one of the resolutions that was put forth in our convention at our AGM back in May too. So that's one of the biggest things, working on that. And again, working on trying to figure out how to address and how to combat the 40,000 job cuts coming to the public service to PSAC workers. That's 10% of the workforce there. So we really need to figure out how to lobby the MPs to try to push back on this. So there's going to be a lot of focus coming in around that. And of course, our brothers and sisters and comrades at CUPW with their interesting news. So we're going to be doing some follow up on that. And, hopefully here at CUPE Talk in the Maritimes, maybe we'll have a little update on that as well. I know we have some contacts, some very close contacts within the Postal Workers Union. So we will be reaching out to them to find out some more details and find out a little bit more about what's going on.
If I may, one of the important things about doing these shows is always making sure that we can feed off of each other. And Chris and I we're quite happy with the chemistry we're able to work on the camera. So I just wanted to throw this out there. Just it needs to be said because it's important that you have chemistry with the person you do this show with. But I literally just brought up that CUPW thing so I could hit that subject after you were finished talking. So good on you for totally just segueing right into it. But yes, huge news coming out of, I'll say, Canada. That, there's a principal agreement. It is not a official agreement yet. So we got to make that clear. This is not in any way official. It is a principal agreement. If everything gets signed and sealed, we will definitely be on it. But this is great news. It's a step in the right direction. So solidarity to CUPW right now.
Yeah, it's different news. I'm reading like it's not something that's typically done this way, but if it'll work and they can get an agreement that works not only for them and works for the employer, then hopefully we get this settled so that way there it just takes the worry off of them, and then we look at the future and how we can better expand the postal services and do what's needed to be done to make it a viable service. Yes, and talking about a viable service, and you're talking about something else that we're working on at the Federation. And one thing we continue to work on is around NB Power. There's a big review going on in NB Power right now. So we keep pushing to keep that as a public utility. So we keep attending all the different meetings. There was a couple in person, but a lot of them have been virtual now. So we continue to go on these virtual meetings and continue to lobby on that as well, pushing to make sure that we don't see the sale of NB Power.
That's right. NB Power belongs to us. And people need to remember that here in New Brunswick. That is ours. We're not for sale.
Absolutely. They tried to see the sale of it back in the Brian Gallant days. They tried to sell it off to Hydro-Quebec, and there was a big push to stop that. And we were able to stop that and keep it as a public utility. So we need to make sure that we push and continue to lobby and continue to make sure that that is a public utility for us here in New Brunswick.
Absolutely. And just want to let you guys know too, you see this QR code, scan it, it'll bring you directly to YouTube, connect you guys with us so you can stay along, hit the little bell, you'll be notified when there's new episodes that are up. Same thing for Spotify, any podcast, click the bell, hit the follow. You'll be notified when we drop new episodes, because sometimes Chris and I may not drop nothing, and then other times there may be lots going on, and we don't wait for a show. We get it out there to you guys right away. So it's beneficial if you click that bell, because you won't miss nothing. And Chris is always on the go, so you just never know. Like I say, he may go a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks with nothing to go live on, but then all of a sudden he's live on every other damn street corner because there's something happening, whether it's a rally, a strike, just a good old fashioned rally is worth watching. I mean, my goodness, when you see that power and solidarity and power in numbers, it'll get you. Huge news. Last time you and I were on here, we didn't get to discuss this, so I think it's only the right place we do this. CUPE 830. Done. I said power and solidarity and power in numbers. That's an understatement for what we went through there. And I tell you, I'd be lying to you if I told you it didn't bring a tear to my eye, because I was so proud, so honored to say that I walked that picket line. I've been at their rallies. We supported them from strike day number 1, and we were still ready to roll at strike day 107, and it wouldn't have stopped for you and I.
Yeah, no, hats off to those workers for standing strong over 100 days. I mean, that takes its toll. Morale is usually pretty high week 1, week 2, week 3, and then it starts to, are we going to get a deal? How long? But like they said, the strength that they had for each other, when one person was down, the rest of the team, they would pick that person up and just show nothing but support for one another. I think of the rally, like you were talking about, when you saw the president go up in the scissor lift, and going into the window. I mean, that's pretty powerful stuff, right? But now that those workers get the deal, the biggest thing we need to make sure that we work on is making sure that those councillors and mayor do not get reelected next term, because we can't afford to go through this again. Those members can't afford to go through this again. We heard a story at the convention that the mayor actually dressed up on Halloween as the president of the local, had one of the hats on, had a T-shirt, had a megaphone, and was mocking him during Halloween. So, that's pretty shameful. It's pretty low, I'd say, to mock your employee like that while they're on strike. So, those kinds of things don't get forgotten. So, again, I still stand with, if it's brown, flush it down. Come municipal elections, they got to go.
100%. I can't, no, they have to go. End of story. They've got to. Nobody should be mocked. That was not a time to make fun of, mock, do anything like that. These men and these women were on those picket lines, standing up for what they believe is right. And even though you may not believe it, Philip Brown, that did not give you the right to dress up like them and then go out there and parade around thinking that you're funny, because it's not funny.
Right.
That's not funny at all. Right. That's just idiotic. Right.
So to me, that just kind of steals their fate, right? Like I said, we don't forget. And, lobby days going on right now in Ottawa for the Canadian Labor Congress. So the PSAC just had a lobby day up in Ottawa. So the labor movement, that's one thing we know how to do, is we know how to lobby, and we know how to get governments not reelected and municipal governments not reelected. So, they better think twice before they start messing with us sometimes, because, if they want to have another term, then they better smarten the hell up, because we know how to get them out.
Man, you ain't kidding, brother. We are very good at that.
Right. We've seen governments come, we've seen them go. So we'll be here. We'll still be here. So
we're not going anywhere. This is 800,000 strong, baby. We're not moving. We're going to stand for what we know is right.
Right. 800,000 strong within CUPE. And then we got millions of members affiliated to the Canadian Labor Congress across various sectors. So there's millions and millions of unionized workers.
It is the strongest labor movement all across Canada, because everybody, the one thing we all have in common is labor movement.
Right.
What is best for our members, what will keep our members happy, healthy, and moving forward.
Hello, comrades. Chris here with CUPE Talk in the Maritimes, and joined alongside me is my co-host Nick. As always, Nick, how are you tonight?
I am the very best. Thank you very much, brother.
As you can see in the middle, we have a very special guest here with us this evening, New Brunswick NDP leader Alex White. Alex, thank you for joining us here this evening.
Hey, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
No, this is a unique opportunity, obviously coming out of the provincial council meeting that we held on Saturday. We have a unique opportunity here to sit down with you and just pick your brain a little bit as to what the New Brunswick NDP has going on and where the party is going to be going in the future.
Absolutely. It's a great opportunity for me too. I mean, this way I get to connect directly with Labor. I mean, obviously with the Labor Party. So this is a really big deal for me, and fingers crossed this isn't my only time showing up here, knock on wood.
There, sorry about that. Nick's gonna edit this. This is why we do that.
No problem.
Okay. Now, Alex, I want to talk to you a bit about a few different things going on. I mean, obviously, the biggest thing that has been in the public eye, and certainly it is known now all over Canada, is the federal budget drop, which I think has become, I'll say it, Chris, maybe one of the worst budgets in the history of Canada.
It's definitely up there.
Where would you rank it, and what do you think of all this stuff going down?
I don't know where I'd rank it. There's been a lot of bad budgets in history, but I'll tell you. So, I mean, what even is it supposed to be, right? Like, it looks like an austerity budget, but they've got all this money that they're pumping into infrastructure or nation building, as they're trying to frame it, and they're spending all this money, tripling the defense budget as well. Caught in the middle, of course, as always, are the workers in the country, right? We're looking at any range from what I understand. There's a range of 55,000 to potentially up to maybe 100,000 jobs that could be on the line, and that's across the federal government. Obviously, they have their targeted ones towards the PSAC and the posties, but we've got I know they've also sent out notices to departments saying, here's your budget, do cuts to make it work. So, but we can't call it an austerity budget because they've put so much new money into these other projects. So we can't come out and say, you're punishing people, you're not spending money, you're not putting money into the country. They are, but they're still punishing people, like the people who are providing the services. It's going to disproportionately hit New Brunswick as well, right? Like, we have a greater than our population would demand segment of ours is working for the federal government, so this is going to hit us more. Plus, just the other day, I mean, Susan Holt was interviewed and asked if she was going to follow suit and cut public service workers here in the province to match what's going on with Carney's government. After taking a little pot shot at the Conservatives for saying that they grew the public service too much, she said that she was really considering it. This is a little pet peeve, and Chris has heard it from me before, but I hate that we get fooled and caught out again and again and again after elections, right? It's always campaign from the left, govern from the right with the Liberals. It always is. It's a joke during the election. After our platform came out, we just sort of laughed and waited to see how many of our things would be taken and run with by the Liberal Party in our provincial election. And the same thing happens in the federal as well. It's just, and they promise, right? Where are my health clinics? Well, I would like, where's my greater access to medical care? That was like the platform main plank that they had come out. It's nowhere to be seen. I haven't heard a whole lot of progress on that front either. So we just keep getting caught. And the federal budget is no different, right? I mean, we all rallied as a nation because we felt that sovereignty was under threat, and we rallied, but the con again. And now we've got another disaster of a budget, which is going to make the next fiscal year very hard and have some far-reaching consequences, not just in New Brunswick, but across the country.
right? And it's one of the main reasons for dealing with this. We deal with it every so many years, where, like you said, austerity budgets and things. And one of the main reasons why we keep having these issues is because we keep voting out of government, right? We get the conservatives in, and then we vote them out and vote the liberals in. Well, I shouldn't even say we vote them in. We don't actually vote in a government. We always vote out of government. And I'm getting really sick and tired of voting out of government. And I think it's about time that we vote in a government, and that government needs to be the new Democratic Party.
I 100% agree, brother. Like, there is no doubt in my mind. Canadians, and this has been true since time immemorial, they always just get rid of the guy they don't like anymore. They don't really vote for what would put the best prospects forward for them. They say, I definitely don't want this guy, but I'm going to hedge my bet. I'm going to go for the guy who I'm going to throw it in 4 years. It frustrates me. It boggles my mind. I am with you 100%. The NDP is the only party that has a progressive plan to carry New Brunswick and Canada into the future.
So thinking about here in New Brunswick, I know we talked a bit about the federal budget, but thinking about here in New Brunswick, what are some of the biggest challenges you see right now facing workers in New Brunswick?
Oh, the same. It just doesn't matter if you're union, if you're private, if you're employed, if you're unemployed. The biggest problem facing New Brunswick right now is the housing. Like, it is insanely important to get a handle on this, but it's been fumbled for so long that there's no quick fix. It is hard now, and it is going to remain hard until the province gets on board and gets in lockstep with city and federal government and offers in order to build the units that we're going to need. So, but that's the first thing. We see it every day around here. Like, go to St. John, right? The city council had their proposal that they did a month or two ago, where they're like, okay, so this is how we're going to get the homeless people away from anything in public. Let's get them away from public services. And the answer is not, hey, let's find some homes for them. The answer was just get them out of here and try to provide some services, but that's not the main goal. I used to live on Waterloo Street in St. John. I used to live like right in the heart of it. I understand that it's not a brand new problem, but it has been exacerbated, pardon me, since the last 5 years. And housing, in my opinion, is like the number one problem here. But you've got others, and we shouldn't, right? Like, access to healthcare. We were promised these mixed use clinics. Do you know how many people's quality of life would be ameliorated if they could get to a family doctor? Or not even get to a family doctor, but get to one of these clinics that are set up to help them take care of their medical issues. There's the fact that our schools need to be updated, and we need more schools. We need more teachers. So it feels like I'm banging the same old drum. I've been doing this for almost 30 years, and I have been banging the same old drum. It is healthcare and education are always there, because since the 90s, they have just been losing support for it. But now we have this housing crisis, and they have the new projects that were set up in the city down here, and they're looking at expanding that sort of stuff. It's emergency shelter. Like, it's tiny rooms with a bed and a heater and a place to call your own, but it's not housing. It's not even really transitional housing. That's the purpose, but it's not anything like what people deserve, like what they deserve to have. So those would be my big three, but after that, right behind is general affordability, right? Like, go to the grocery store, buy some gas, and it's just people can't afford to live the life to live a life of the same quality that they were able to live in 2019, 2020, 2015, 2010. And we were complaining about this back then too. Like, the living wage was just released, and I forget the exact number, but for my area, for St. John, it's getting close to $25 an hour to have a living wage for 2 income earners with a couple of kids. The minimum wage, I don't know, I'm sure everyone's aware, is nowhere near that. And I have friends who work in unionized environments who don't make that kind of cash, right? Like,
Right.
we're sitting at a situation where people are hanging on. Like, they're digging in and they're doing their best because New Brunswickers are resilient. Like, we know how to live, we know how to deal with tough times, and we always support each other, which is what it all comes down to, because the government is supposed to represent us. So if we support each other, the government's supposed to be able to provide that support as well. So really, there's a lot of questions that we have to be able to ask of our representatives of who these people are, because I have no idea what's gonna happen. Sorry to talk over you there.
No, please, it's okay, honest. One thing I do want to talk about too is like the school system, and the fact that our buildings on average are well over 60, 70, 80 years old. And it's almost like, oh, you're getting a new building. Yay. We don't need one. We don't need two. We need a whole bunch of new buildings because our schools are just, if they're not aging well. I mean, they're old. And, when pipes are breaking and there's so much wrong in the schools and it doesn't matter what it is. The fact is, more money needs to go into education the same way that we say more money needs to go into healthcare and everything else that's going on. But, Alex, where do you stand with like, hey, we're getting 2 new schools? What do you think from an education standpoint does this province need more than anything?
There's a lot of components to that question, but I'll get you some ideas. So, for what it's worth, both my parents were teachers. My uncle drives bus. A couple of uncles drive bus. I myself briefly taught ESL at one point in my life, for example. And when the provincial election was going on, I went to Fredericton for a debate, or rather a meeting or a conference with the NBTA. There was myself and David Kuhn and Susan Holt, and I'm very apologetic, but I do not remember who was sent by the Conservative Party, PCs. So, but we did the research. Like, when we did our platform, I had a lot of help from an extremely talented man named Nate Wallace, and he dug it up and he worked with the authorities and the provincial library to assess what the cost would be to build the schools that we need to get class sizes down to, say, I think our only goal was 26, an average class size. And I believe it required us to build 4 schools a year for the next 5 years. Plus that, you'd have to find the teachers, you'd have to find the support staff, all the great union jobs that this province would thrive off of, plus constructing them, right? Like, this is fantastic stuff that could happen. But basically, we got the information, like, it will cost billions, potentially, of dollars to pull this off, right? And we can retrofit a couple of schools in there, and we can provide some better, sturdier buildings that don't have issues with heating and with plumbing and with electrical, and they don't have like insulation problems. We can give our students, our kids, a safe, conductive environment for learning. But that means we do need more schools, and it's not 1 or 2. Like you said, we need dozens. We need like a lot more schools to service the population. And it is almost overwhelming because we need generational investments in so many places right now because we didn't keep up with it. Like it's so maddening that if we had simply done smaller investments the whole time, our kids would have reasonable class sizes and our teachers wouldn't be paying for school supplies out of their own friggin' bank account, right? We'd have doctors in our hospitals and our hospitals might still be open, right? You wouldn't have people going and waiting 16 hours and then being told that they have a headache because the doctor is so overwhelmed that they cannot put their resources into it. We wouldn't have emergency shelters being built in every city in this province over the next half a year or so because people don't have enough shelters. There's no out of the cold resources left. There's just these struggles. Because we put off our routine maintenance, we need to invest so much time and resources in so many sectors. We deserve better. Like, we are in one of the richest countries on the planet. Like, we deserve to have a province, to have a country where our students get quality education. Our teachers have the support they need to do their jobs properly, to have proper nutrition available in all of the schools. The school lunch program not being implemented yet, again, blows my mind. Another campaign promise that has gone unfulfilled. I'm worried about the provincial budget coming next year because if the cue is taken from the federal budget that just went through, and it very well may be, we're looking at potentially an austerity budget in this province when what we need is investment, the likes of which hasn't been seen perhaps in my entire lifetime or more. So I'm worried. There's some stuff I'm concerned about. Obviously, there's reasons to hope because there's groups who are working to better things for everybody in this province because that's what we do. We look out for each other. It blows my mind when I meet people who are like, I don't know my neighbors. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, my neighbors, I talk to them all the time because that's just what New Brunswick does. We look out for each other. It doesn't matter the situation. What matters is that we need help. And as much as we can do our best for each other, we need our government to step up and put a plan in place to bring New Brunswick to the point where it deserves to be. And that's what it really comes down to.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We need to see some action on some of the campaign promises. And, it's not just lip service. These are the things that people talk about that obviously get them to vote for certain people based on what the platform says. So, if they're not doing those sorts of things, then it's just falling by the wayside, and we need to hold them accountable for certain things. But I'm thinking about, for voter turnout and the generations and things, and I'm thinking about the younger generation. So what would you say to a young person who feels that politics don't really represent them, so that maybe they feel that let's say that the NDP doesn't represent them? What would be your response back to that? Because I know that the NDP represents young workers, middle class, elderly. I know the NDP represents all workers. That's what I know. But what would you say to that?
I'd say I know exactly where you're coming from. There was a big period in my life where I had walked away from politics. Not walked away. I always volunteered, but I wasn't super involved. And I get it. Politics is overwhelming. And when it seems like, because it's true, when it seems like after every election, nothing really changes, that's because the governments that you're electing do not represent you. That's what it comes down to. Because you're right, Chris. If you're in this province, there's a very good chance you are a worker, whether you are in organized labor or whether you are not. Even if you're just trying to eke out some freelance work for yourself. I've done that track as well. The fact is, despite what they say, they don't represent your interests, right? I want, okay, if I have somebody who's 20, 25 in front of me right now, and they're like, I don't care about politics, it doesn't matter. I promise you that it does. Because if you have complaints about healthcare, provincial government matters. If you have complaints about stoplights in your city or potholes on city roads, local government matters. If you have complaints about tax rates or foreign policy, federal government matters. I would literally, and I have before, begged to people to just learn a bit about what it does and look at what hasn't happened for your entire life, right? Look at how your life is not better, right? Look at how things feel out of reach. Look at the fact that before 2020, I used to do a regular job, come home, and then I would go volunteer. I had that energy. I had that mental capacity to go do stuff. That's not a thing right now. People don't have that energy. It is survival mode, and you don't deserve to be stuck in survival mode.
That's right.
The NDP has your interests at heart. And I don't care who's listening to those words. The NDP has your interests at heart. I mean that very deeply. I am very proud of the platform that we put together for the last provincial election. And if you want to see what we really stand for, take a look at it. It is available. It is on our website. You can Google it, and it should show up, NDP platform. It'll be a link up to the PDF, I believe. We believe that you deserve to have a future where things are brighter, where you don't look at it next year and be like, oh, how am I going to make it? Right? Because that's everybody right now. That's when you're young, you're supposed to have optimism and hope for what's going to come, but they trick you. They trick you, and they trick everybody. I'm not to cast blame, but they trick you. They pick an issue which resonates perhaps with an emotional level or something like that, but they make you think that voting against your own interests is the best choice. And they do that by saying, don't you hate this guy? Well, the NDP, I mean, we'll just set them aside. But if you hate that guy, vote for me, right? And they'll find one issue. Because you're right, Chris. We represent every worker in this province, whether they know it or not. Whether you vote for us or not, we are out there and we are representing your interests, and we are acting as hard and as strong as we can to defend your interests, to advance your interests, and to ensure that when you have another election, that the NDP is the voice that you're going to put into the legislature, so you can say, this person does represent my interests, and this person is doing something that's going to make my life better, because you deserve it.
No, I think like when you're talking about having a voice in the legislature, obviously here at CUPE Talk, we talked about, 1992 and what a pivotal moment that was in our history here in the province. And we had a key ally within the New Brunswick legislature, and that was Elizabeth Weir at the time. And, if we didn't have that voice of the NDP in there standing up for CUPE and workers at that time, we might not have had the outcome that we did. So if it wasn't for the NDP and working with labor, then, like I said, that could have taken a whole nother turn. So it just proves how pivotal and how important it is to have the NDP's voice in the New Brunswick legislature.
Yeah, it's It is important. Elizabeth Weir, the lone voice advocating at the time, just an absolute like presence, like just to have that support and to be able to put that information out and to just stand there day after day and just advocate for labor, just advocate for everything, because the NDP is the party of labor. And as much as that is true, and I have always believed it, like we have to live it. Like that's what it comes down to. So if like I would gladly stand on that floor in 1992 next to Elizabeth arguing for labor, and I would gladly stand on that floor in 2028 or 2032 or 2036 and argue on behalf of labor, because we are the political voice of the labor movement in this province and across this country. So give us the chance to speak on your behalf. Let us tell them that they can't get away with this stuff. Let us tell them that we demand better. Let us get in there and say that message where they have to hear it.
You know, I think you're absolutely right. I love that, number one. You know, it is important that we have NDP in that legislature for that reason. Now, what I want to do is, I know that we do got to wind this down, but what I would like to do is discuss with you off air about some stuff that I think would be beneficial for all of us. And I think, you know, I do think you bring a great forefront, and I think that everything that you want to do for the workers here in New Brunswick is very important, and it is long overdue. And we need somebody in there who's going to stand up for the workers of this great province. And we are very proud that it is you. And we look forward to having more conversations with you in the future.
I will be here as often as you'll have me. I'll be back. Absolutely. Looking forward to it. I think this is a really great opportunity for myself to connect with the labor movement. And yeah, this has been an absolute joy. And I'll be back whenever you want me.
Yeah, no, and this is a good way, you know, to reach out to the broader membership and to all our listeners, and to let them know, you know, what the NDP here in New Brunswick is all about, and how we can help and how you can help, so that we can all work together to get the voice that we need. You know, I always share on my social media platforms, and I've talked about it for years and years and years, is Tommy Douglas's Mouseland. I know we've all seen it, and you know what? But it couldn't be any more true. It puts it in such a simplistic way that, you know, it should be a no-brainer for people to understand, you know, how we're constantly voting in the cats when we're all made up of mice. And, you know, if we want something done, then we need to elect the mice.
Right? That's what it comes down to. You're right. I mean, the first time you hear it, you're like, this makes sense. And then you think it can't be that simple. But then after a couple of experiences, like, oh my, it is that simple.
It really is that simple.
They pass laws that are only good for cats.
Exactly. You know, cats can only eat a few mice, right? As opposed to it. Yeah, I am right there with you. It's a great speech. I love hearing it every time it comes up, because it distills it down so succinctly into the issue that we have. When we talk about voting in the guy that kicking out the guy that we don't want, or we talk about how we were voting against their interests, that's all just me saying the Mouseland speech for 15 minutes as opposed to 3 or 5. It's a beautiful speech. If you haven't heard it, you should go listen to it. It distills it down, because we outnumber the cats. That's what it comes down to.
That's right.
Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you guys. This was amazing.
No, thank you. And we'll let you know too, like, you know, we got stuff going on if there's different events and things that we find out. So we'll keep you up to date, so that way there we can make sure that that the NDP is present at the different events and stuff like that for labor too.
Absolutely. And if we have any events going on, I'll certainly reach out and touch base with you guys as well, so we can ensure that labor has a turnout to our events. Because we're on the same side. We got to work together on this stuff.
100%.
NDP will support labor forever, as far as I'm concerned. So you just let me know when and where you need us to be, and we'll make sure that we back you up.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Hey guys, I am Nick, and this is Where Did It All Start? And we are so fortunate to be on the phone now with the president of CUPE Prince Edward Island, Ashley Clark. Ashley, welcome to the segment.
Thanks for having me, Nick.
Now, the great thing about this is it's all about where did it start, and activism is such a wonderful thing, and you are knee-deep in it, and I know you love every minute of it. Tell me about where did your activism actually begin?
Well, I'd say probably as a kid. I think we all have our, who we become is rooted in where we came from. I was, a girl that grew up in a time and place in rural Nova Scotia. I'm from PEI, but I grew up in Nova Scotia. I was in a poor fishing village there and went to school and did lots of sports activities and, saw those kinds of differences and often saw how I was treated compared to some of my classmates or whatever, and I would notice those kinds of things. I was on the wrestling team as one of the only girls on the team, and just kind of built my character from there. I went to Cole Harbour High School at a time when there was a lot of, I would say, pretty significant racial strife. A lot of fighting was breaking out at school between my community that I grew up in, Eastern Passage, and the Black community that went to our high school, North Preston. So I guess all of those kinds of experiences really led me to notice the world around me and meet lots of different kinds of people and start to understand that things are different for different people, including myself, and I had privileges in some ways and not in others, and I'd say that's probably where it really all started for me.
So what is your first experience with a union as a young adult?
I worked at the University of Prince Edward Island in a number of different capacities. I had student jobs there, and I probably was a unionized member and didn't even really realize it at the time in some of my part-time gigs. But my full-time position at the university was my first foray into really recognizing I work for a unionized environment. So that was at the Faculty of Education there.
Wow. So when you first get involved and you're starting this, what was the beginning factors to why you would, obviously being a member, as far as I'm concerned, a member is whenever someone says like, oh, I'm just a member, I can't stand that. Like, no, you're not just a member. You are a very important person because the union runs off membership. Every person matters. So for you, when did you realize, like, I want to do more? I want to go further with this.
Well, when I first started my job at UPEI, I think it was within the first couple of months we went to strike school. Like I joined, I got hired just as we were going through the end of the collective bargaining process. So I was a brand new employee. I didn't really know what it meant to be a unionized employee. And then all of my CUPE colleagues were like, all right, Ashley, sign this form. We're going to strike school. And I was like, okay, what does that mean? So that was a little it was exciting and interesting and like a little nerve-wracking because I didn't know what that meant. I was a temporary employee, and I'm, going to listen to the CUPE education person tell us about, what strike means and the implications, and it was great. It was a little overwhelming, but it definitely piqued my interest and let me know what I was in for. We never ended up going on strike. We got an 11th hour deal back in 2016. But yeah, so it was definitely like a very abrupt and dramatic introduction to being a unionized employee. And because of that, then I did, I went to meetings semi-regularly. I wasn't at every monthly meeting, but I went pretty regularly and got to know my local executive members and the other folks that I worked with on campus. And I think I decided there were advantages for sure. There were challenges, but I wanted to understand a little bit more. So I joined a committee, and then I joined another committee, and then, spiraled from there.
Spiraled, yeah. You are, I have to say it because, when you are speaking at a rally or speaking at a function, I know you and I have already spoke about this in the past, when I first heard you speak, and that was the beginning of my activism, and that was when I said, I need to know who she is. Like, she literally just sent goosebumps up my spine. And then, fast forward, a month and a half ago, and I hear you speak, and then you say enough is enough, and then you play Owen Hart, and then all of a sudden, I'm saying to myself, oh my goodness, this girl is a wrestling girl, but she is good with speaking because she's cutting a promo. And she means every word she's saying, and you can feel it because you're conveying it to the people. And you sent chills up my spine, which made me think like she is a natural leader in her role. And maybe I'm too far ahead, but would that not be fair? Did wrestling play a part in why you're so good at speaking?
That is hilarious. I never thought of rally remarks as cutting a promo for wrestling, but I absolutely see the the overlaps. I think that's kind of why I connected back to my childhood. I think that all of those things influenced it, right? Like I grew up in that, 90s wrestling culture for sure. I'm theatrical. I do a lot of theater and performing, and I think that helps too. Like I'm not uncomfortable in front of a crowd, and I have just a really strong sense of what's fair, and I take the time to learn about things. And over the years, I have become more comfortable with who I am as a person and being just kind of unapologetically myself. And if that's what people hear, like if what you hear when you hear me speak is passion and caring and a little, flair for the dramatic, then I'm not upset about that.
Well, let's be clear. I mean, first of all, I used to cut promos every month in wrestling when I wrestled. And then when I stepped away from it, I didn't want to speak in front of 6 people. And then when my activism started and hearing you, it was almost like somebody had started lawnmower with a pole. And I realized I still can do this. Like I did it with CUPE Talk in the Maritimes, which I did a wrestling show for 14 years with a CUPE member who is here in St. John, Mr. Malcolm Wallace, and we here I am now, and I said to Sandy, I said, I can do this because I've already ran podcasts and web shows with wrestling. So I, too, have been able to take a little bit of what I've learned from wrestling and bring it into my CUPE world, which has been very beneficial for me.
Absolutely. I think, we talk about transferable skills all the time, so that tracks.
So in a perfect world, where does Ashley Clark see herself in 5 years?
I mean, you never know how life is gonna go and where it's gonna take you, but I'm loving what I'm doing right now. I feel like I'm just at the beginning of my second term, and my first term was just so much learning and relationship building. And I felt like when I was reelected in May, it really was a chance to start a term like with some solid footing underneath me, and I feel like I'm just kind of getting that momentum going. Like I felt I spent the first term, like building, and now I feel like I am moving a little bit better. There's still lots of relationships to build and nurture and things to learn, but I at least know kind of who the players are and who the, where the gaps are and the things to fill. So for me right now, this is what I am. I'm in the place where I want to be right now.
So I love that you said solid footing beneath you, because anyone who listens to this segment or has listened to all of them, Candace Rennick said on the debut episode of this, I waited until I had solid footing, and then I would do my thing. And then when I got solid footing, I would do this, and then I would move to this. So solid footing is so important, I guess, is what I'm getting at. And for you, you are right in your zone right now. And I mean, my goodness, like you said, starting your second term, but you have been such a, how would I word that? You have been such a cheerleader for CUPE and for Prince Edward Island and all the members over there, but also all the members all over Canada, if I can say that. You have been here in New Brunswick, you've been to Nova Scotia, you've been to Newfoundland, you've been out west. You are constantly learning, yes, but you're also constantly showing your passion and letting members know, 800,000 strong, that you care and you've got their back.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for saying that. That you've tapped into my other sport. I was also a high school cheerleader, so captain of the cheerleading and wrestling teams at the same time.
That is incredible.
But like, I think that's part of the structure of CUPE too, right? Like, I didn't get to go and show up to all those places. Like, that's something that this role has afforded me the opportunity to do, and the board that supports me in the work, the National Executive Board, but my CUPE PEI board as well, and daily, right? So any kind of capacity that I have to advocate on behalf of CUPE members is because CUPE members are the ones that are behind me, supporting me in this role, and like, I take the message from them and deliver it. And yeah, of course, I'm passionate about this work. Like, I don't think you should run for these kinds of positions if you're not passionate about it. And yeah, I'm glad to hear that that's the impact that I'm having, is that visibility and that cheerleading and that kind of positive momentum, because I think that this work can be really hard and demoralizing and difficult and heavy, and it's nice to have the chance to do some of those more inspirational kinds of things. I definitely revel in the opportunity to fill that cup when I can.
I don't blame you. And of course, the last question, and I think it's the most important, is what advice would you give to a young member who is just starting out in a local and, not sure what they want to do yet?
I think kind of back to what you said at the beginning of, there's no such thing as being just a member. Like, you're a member, and that's important, and you should explore what that means for you. For me, I joined a committee that I was interested in. I'm interested in education, so I joined the Professional Development Fund Committee, and I was part of evaluating applications from CUPE members applying for money to get some professional development to help them in their careers. And then I got on a bylaws committee because I'm also a nerd and I like grammar and rules, and I wanted to know more about the union, and I got to do that by looking at the bylaws, and I got to contribute something that I was good at. I was good at something, and I could bring that skill to what the union needed. And what I got from that was knowledge and relationships. And that's where I met Leo Chevery, who, if you know PEI, CUPE history, has always been that person on PEI. He passed in 2023, but he was a mentor to so many people. And, the advice I would give is get involved in something, even if it feels super small. Put your name forward for something, anything. You don't have to run for the executive on your first try, but don't be afraid to do that either. Like my first role on the executive was lead shop steward. Like, you never know what opportunities are going to come up for you. So no interaction or opportunity is too big or too small. You have skills, you have energy, you have passion, and put it forward in however you can.
Ashley, I appreciate you.
Thanks for doing this interview, Nick. I appreciate you too.
This has been another Where Did It All Start?
Hey guys, I am Nick, and I am joined alongside Jamey Mills, the Regional Executive Vice President of the BC area for the PSAC. And Jamey, I want to say thank you first and foremost. I know that our schedules have not lined up, so this is excellent. So again, thank you for taking the time to do this.
Yeah, Nick, thank you so much for having me.
There has been a lot of talk about this federal budget, and I don't think it's a hidden secret whatsoever that this has been an attack on federal services here in Canada. Am I wrong in saying that?
No, absolutely. Coast to coast to coast, this federal budget is looking to cut tens of billions of dollars in services Canadians want.
And that's what I want to talk about is the combination of the deep job cuts, the threat to retirement security. And you know what? I have to ask you is what is going through your mind when this was all coming out?
Well, I mean, first of all, PSAC, just like other federal unions, weren't consulted on any of this. A lot of the guidance that we were trying to provide the employer wasn't listened to. Things like, instead of cutting budgets, they could have done things like allowing people to work from home more, which has proven to work, getting rid of some of those longstanding federal contracts that they have on buildings that are underused. Generally, it's quite terrifying to hear, they want to eliminate upwards of 35,000 federal public sector worker positions, and they say that that's going to be done through attrition. Well, that doesn't mean that the work doesn't still need to be done. So that just means that people are going to have to do more with less, and it's completely unfair to the workers, especially considering the country, the nation, the expectation has grown so much, especially during the pandemic.
Not to mention, too, we have seen that what has been happening up to now has worked. You know what I mean? It has shown that working from home, and they've had lots of people working and making sure that services are provided. You can order things and you're getting them at a half decent time. And now they're saying, well, we're gonna cut 40,000 jobs. It's so wrong on so many levels, and they're actually trying to convince Canada, all the countrywide, that this is okay. We got this. This is a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, a good example of this is we'll use the Canada Revenue Agency as an example, and I used to be a call center agent there. So they started laying off a whole bunch of term employees, and then started to wonder why, it took hours and hours if you could even get into the queue to get through, and then why the accuracy went down, because people are well overburdened, overstressed, and now they've had to come up with a 100-day action plan to try and correct some of the problems that they've already created. And that's just one example of what we're about to see.
It really is. You're right. And, one of the things that have really bothered me, and I think you would agree, is all the AI stuff. Listen, we have spent the last 5 years, and everyone you hear the commercials. Oh, if you call us, you won't get, or you're not going to get AI. You're going to get a real person.
And the government had seemed to always, that was something they liked. Hey, listen, at least when you call, you're going to get someone. Now, all of a sudden, they're flipping the switch overnight. Hey, we're going to save money. Let's go with AI. But we both know that AI is not going to work. It has shown that you cannot trust everything you read and everything that you ask AI. So, what are your thoughts on AI?
Well, I mean, as we move forward, there's likely a space for AI to supplement some of the work that workers are doing, but absolutely not to replace them. In regards to the role that PSAC members play in the federal public sector, a lot of the answers that they need to provide are A, very complicated, and B, require a significant amount of compassion. For example, a case officer working at Veterans Affairs, or, again, an officer working at the Canada Revenue Agency dealing with a complex situation that involves particularly estates or complex capital gains. AI is never going to be able to replace those folks. And quite frankly, with some of the surveying we've been done, Canadians want to deal with people. They don't want to deal with AI bots.
I couldn't agree more with you. That is the thing. And I mean, Jamey, at the end of the day, what are they going to do? Like, oh, AI added an extra zero to that guy's taxes. Oh, well, he'll have to pay us back. I don't think so. You are saying that AI is capable of replacing real human beings who know what they're doing. So therefore, a mistake, that's on you. Like, that's not on PSAC. That's not on anyone countrywide. That is on AI. So you'll have to ask AI for the money back.
Well, I mean, it's pretty much undoubtable that AI is going to make mistakes. We
Yes.
see it all the time now when people are using Chat GPT for whatever purpose. It's sure maybe 1 in 10 it's accurate, but the other 9 times, you can't trust that when it comes to calculating your child tax benefit or assessing an immigration claim or all of these other things. Again, it comes back to that human aspect where people want to be cared about, and AI is definitely not going to do that.
I couldn't agree more with you. What has been the overall feeling? Obviously, you have been in meetings, so you're discussing it with a lot of people, this federal budget. What's been the overall feeling amongst members throughout the PSAC?
Well, I mean, it's not like we're not still dealing with the Phoenix pay system and people still aren't being paid correctly or at all. It's a lot of fear and it's a lot of distrust. We're constantly trying to get at the table with the key stakeholders to be meaningfully consulted when it comes to how this is going to move forward. But time and time again, it's really unfortunate. We thought that this liberal government would be different than a conservative government, but we're seeing it just about as bad, if not worse, from the Deficit Reduction Action Plan under Stephen Harper. So members are fearful, and they're distrustful of the employer, which is the federal government.
Now, I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, please, it wouldn't be the first time I'm wrong on this show. I'm hearing that the PSAC actually gave solutions. There were ways to work around, like get all this together and keep 40,000 jobs. Is that true? And how, if so, what solutions were best served?
Yeah, so of course we submitted recommendations. Were they listened to? I'd say for the most part they weren't. And some of those clear examples, again, going back to working from home, they could be selling off government assets, meaning buildings, to the tune of billions of dollars that currently aren't being used to their fullest intent, or they're quite dilapidated and probably need a lot of infrastructure upgrades. And two other ways I'd say is one is no longer using contractors and contracting out when they could be contracting this work in, where it's proven time and time again, when public sector work is done by public sector workers, it's done for less money and it's done with less errors.
It really is, and it shows. Now, what about retirees? How can this affect them? Now, first off, let's move back just a little, actually. What I was reading was as people retire, we just won't fill jobs, which that to me is pure laziness. You're just basically going to let the jobs go and not fill them. So, what is your mindset on that part?
Well, yeah, again, when they're talking about attrition, if they're not going to replace people as they retire or quit or whatever the reason, that work is still there. So, if you're a food inspector working at a third party site, you still have to ensure that the production is there so that Canadians have the safe food that they want. And we've seen in the past what's happened when they do things like that, using the Canadian Food Inspection Agency as an example. When they cut food inspectors, people get sick, right? Like look at Leamington, look at some of these other issues. When you've got less folks working at the border, when you have less folks working in the federal institutions, public safety becomes an issue as well.
Very good point. Very good point. Public safety. Again, let's cut all these things. But and I did too. I thought this new government, the Liberal government, was going to be different. But realistically, at the end of the day, they seem more excited to cut jobs, if I can say it that way. And I think I can, because they've shown that. That's evident now. They seem more excited to cut jobs than what we've seen in quite a while. I mean, we had everything has been great up to this point. Not great. I think that's a bit over the top, but things have been good and people have been working and everyone's happy. But then they go and they cut these. So, like, aside from that, what about education? Like, what we have PSAC members that are in the education department. So, like, what do you think of that? Like, is there really something that you can cut there when it comes to children and education?
Well, I can't really reflect too much on that from PSAC. So PSAC does represent a lot of members in directly chartered locals, and particularly Ontario, Quebec, Saskatchewan. But a lot of that education, I don't know what the impacts on that are going to be, particularly when it comes to provincial budgets. So obviously, there's always a trickle down effect. So yeah, you're right. There definitely will be impacts. I couldn't give you a specific example when it comes to the education sector, though.
No, but 100% there will be cuts, and we both know that. But I think you said you can't really give an example. Let's just very quickly, because I know you don't have a lot of time, and I respect the fact that you would even take time to sit down and discuss this. In a perfect world, Jamey, what happens over the next year that may benefit PSAC if the Liberals would open their eyes?
Wow, I'll give you my personal perspective on this.
I would love that.
Yeah, we really don't have a spending issue. What we have is a revenue issue. And in order to fund federal public sector work and to fund a lot of different programs, they need to be looking at creating new revenue, such as changing the capital gains law, which they were looking at, and quite frankly, taxing the rich, taxing corporations, taxing Tesla, taxing Amazon to its full capacity. We're verging on, the world's first trillionaire. They need to pay their fair share, and that fair share ensures that Canadians have the public services that they want.
You're right. There are multi-billion-dollar companies in this country that are not taxed properly. End of story. They really aren't. I'll say it right here on CUPE Talk. We got a $45 million headquarters up the road that are taxed next to nothing. And they're more concerned about taxing the low guy in the totem pole than they are the big and almighty rich folks. And I just don't think that's fair. And I think it hurts us in the long run.
Absolutely.
Yep. Jamey, I appreciate you doing this and sitting down with me. My dog is driving me nuts. I'm sorry he's in the background. I really do appreciate it, Jamey. Seriously, I really do. I know you're busy and I know it's not easy. We're on a 4-hour time difference. So thank you.
Hey, Nick, thanks for making some time for me. If you ever want to touch base again, hit me up. I'm always here.
We have your back. We have the PSAC's back. We will continue to rant and rave on this show where we're able to, and nobody can stop us. And we will stand behind you guys 100% and continue to moving forward, brother.
Thank you. Solidarity.
Solidarity.
Hard Oak Designs creates custom, personalized gift products. With 2 lasers a CNC, and all the woodworking tools needed to create your perfect gift. From board games, cutting boards for wedding gifts, and everything in between. Got an idea? Give me a shout at info@CharredOak.ca. Find me on Facebook under Charred Oak Designs.
At Higgins Insurance, we understand that protecting what matters most, your family, your home, your livelihood, is not just a policy, it's a promise. As a trusted provider serving Atlantic Canadians for over 25 years, we're proud to offer personalized coverage tailored to your unique needs, whether it's auto, home, or life insurance. Our team is committed to transparency, reliability, and exceptional service, ensuring peace of mind through every stage of life. Let Higgins Insurance be your partner in protection. Because when it comes to your future, you deserve nothing less than confidence. The official insurance of CUPE Talk.
Hello, everyone at CUPE Talk in the Maritimes. I am Chris. Alongside me is my co-host Nick, and we are joined by two very special guests. As you can see, we have Mariful and Baolinh, who are part of CUPE 1281, which is the YUFA subunit. And what we're here to talk about today, they have a collective agreement that expired in May 31st of 2025. They had conciliation meetings, and there were meetings scheduled for October, but talks broke down, and they have been on strike, I believe. So that's what we're here to talk about today, is about what's going on over there, obviously about the strike action, and I guess we'll just ask you if you can give us a little breakdown. So what's going on?
Maybe it'll help first explain who we work for.
Sure.
We are, and then Baolinh, you could chime in. So we're obviously CUPE 1281. We're a sub local. We work for the York University Faculty Association, YUFA or YUFA, as we say it. So our employers are basically a union that represent about 1,700 faculty members and librarians at York University. So we are a staff of 8 people. 7 of us are what you call staff representatives. Some places might call them business agents or whatever. So we do things like contract administration for them. So when they have an issue, they come to us, and we will help them fight their employer for whatever workplace issue they have. They come to us, and then one of us do kind of like the bookkeeping, accounting, and that kind of stuff for them. So that's who we are. I don't know, Baolinh, if you wanted to add something more to that or start off with why we're here.
Sure. So yeah, as you mentioned, we're members of CUPE 1281, and that is sort of a composite local with many different collective agreements, and they're mostly collective agreements in progressive workplaces, so often representing not-for-profits as well as union staff. And so we would fall under the union staff component. CUPE 1281 also represents staff at what we call the 3900s, which is the university academic workers within CUPE.
The contract workers in teaching, usually contracting teaching assistants.
Yeah, and so one thing that I would say about York University Faculty Association as well is that it does have additional classes of workers, not just tenured track full-time faculty. It also represents archivists, postdocs, and something that we call special renewable contracts, which are limited term teaching stream positions. It wasn't always that way, but anyway, that's a long story to get there, but also the contractually limited appointments. So that's the basis of the, let's say, give or take 1,700 members. Chris, you asked us what some of the issues are and what brought us towards the strike action. Okay, so I would say that, when our contract was expiring, we reached out, of course, sent a notice to bargain, and put forth a very modest proposal because York University at this time is undergoing itself a huge restructuring process. It itself was slammed by the Auditor General of Ontario for administrative bloat, top-down restructuring, financial mismanagement, and we saw that affected the operations. Lots of layoffs have happened, reduction of the workforce, and we see this most recently within CUPE 3903, which is the contract sessional instructors, the TAs, the teaching assistants, graduate assistants. There was a recent strike in 2024. During this last few years, obviously there was a regime change. Our workloads have gone up because we are charged with interpreting, applying and enforcing the YUFA collective agreement on behalf of its members. And we work very, very closely with chief stewards, handling all kinds of workplace issues on behalf of YUFA members, and that requires grievance handling, arbitrations, mediations. So in reflecting on sort of the challenges ahead, our union, of which we're all on the bargaining team because we are such a small group, have put forth a very modest proposal, only to be surprised at the first bargaining table about their plans, or our employer's plan, or their want to hire management positions outside of our unit. So outside of the bargaining unit, having executive director, namely, and an in-house counsel that they claim cannot be unionized per the Ontario Labour Relations Act. And we can get into that later about why that is a problematic gloss and problematic assertion for a union to claim. So those are sort of the crux of the issue at the moment. One thing that we went in because of the difficulties of our workplace is stronger protections against harassment and discrimination, improvements to health and safety. When we first met with the employer sometime in June, it was the earliest date I guess they could make time for us. We were gobsmacked by the fact that for the first time in our bargaining history with the York University Faculty Association, we were bargaining with their hired lawyers. And it wasn't just any law firm that they contracted. They engaged the services of a employer side legal firm known for union busting, Ogletree Deacons. They, I think, originated from the South in the United States, and Mariful has done a bit of research on them. So what we were facing in June was over 100 concessions. Our collective agreement was sliced and diced, carved up. It looked terrible. So we were overwhelmed, and this was the first time we ever heard of their desire for hiring of out-of-scope employees. I'm not sure if I've missed anything else. It's been a long time back, but Mariful, if you want to jump in.
Just so for some context, YUFA's never historically had managers. It's the management is the performance is functioned by the executive board, right? So they have their elected officials every 2 or 3 years, whatever it is. What they're essentially trying to do is attack our scope clause, at least originally, and I won't get into it too technically here. What they want to do is by hiring these 2 managers, they want these managers to also do our job. They want to be able to take on the work that we're doing. And so one of our concerns is not only why do you need a manager to do the work, but also our job security, right? Like they're trying to take away work from us and remove us from, So that's one big thing. Baolinh also mentioned we want stronger protections around harassment and discrimination. Our issues are not things like wages and benefits. We're very fortunate. We're very fortunate on that end. So it really comes down to boiled down to these 2 issues for us.
One of the things I want to talk about is you say things have always been decent, up to now. They've never ever done these sort of things. Bringing in a executive director, an in-house counsel, if nothing has ever changed to this point, that tells me one very important thing, that things have always been good. Decent, at least. I'll even use the word decent, not great. So why now? Why now do they want to do these things?
So that's a really good question. And, I wouldn't say that things were always great. This
Right.
organization, according to one of our longest, actually, at this point, serving staff members, that the environment can be quite challenging. It has been toxic in some cases where this coworker has seen a changeover of staff completely 3 times in their 12-year career. The difference is that previously, because of the way that collegiality and democratic practices within YUFA was a shared value with alongside staff previously, there were a different style of resolving issues. We would be face to face, there would be some airing out of concerns and more of an attempt to problem solve. I wouldn't say that everything was hunky-dory,
Right.
but the tactic that's being used now is fundamental departure from a very mature, long-standing collective agreement that has always operated on principles of debate, academic freedom, democracy, and we are, as my coworker Mariful said, quite fortunate because inbuilt into our collective agreement is a degree of self-management and democratic practices. And the irony is, why now? Well, for the longest time, YUFA has been perhaps politically can be characterized within a liberal, centrist, progressive space. There was a slate that ran, given the unhappiness, I guess, with members regarding the way that the union was dealing with restructuring, let's just say at York, their own employer. They ran on a progressive ticket, like a more left-leaning ticket. They want to, and this is not necessarily articulated at the bargaining table, but they want to return YUFA to the rank and file, or something to that extent. The slogan, which is curious because why would you introduce a layer of management and create more separation? Generally, it has always been a very flat structure. As Mariful said, staff work closely with the executive officers. We work very closely with members. So I really can't mind read as to why this is seemed like the go-to
Right.
resolution for some of the issues that were raised at the table. But I will defer to my colleague Mariful to just fill in some of the gaps.
Yeah, I can add 2 things to that. One is that part of what Baolinh mentioned was not actually brought at the bargaining table, which is the piece around bringing him back into the hands of rank and file, which is really misleading. That's one thing. But at the bargaining table, they claim that they want better information sharing, they want better administration, they want a little bit more communication on the staff oversight of things. So on the first piece, the problem is that their membership is very diverse. And when I say diverse, I don't mean economically diverse. I mean, economically, they're pretty well off. And when that happens, you have a very interesting membership. You have, members making up to $250,000 a year, such as the president of the current YUFA executive, and more. And their class interests are not necessarily the same. And so when you have a lot of people like that, it's very challenging to mobilize them. It's very challenging to bring, and it's very challenging to mobilize them because when they have an issue, they come to staff or they come to the union to be like, I have an issue. I just want my individual issue solved, and I don't want to get involved with the union. I don't want to do that. That's been kind of a challenge to mobilize them. And then you have, a layer of people that I would characterize as left-leaning and progressive who rightfully want to organize and make their union more rank and file, democratic, etc. But the issue is that it's very challenging and difficult to do that. And they have to put in the work to do that, right? And so when that work isn't happening, the work, people come to the staff and they rely on the staff to file grievances and fill those kinds of gaps, right? So we're kind of doing something where we it's the political work isn't on staff. You know, that's not our job. It's you know, it's the rank and file and the executives to do that. And so I think there's a sincere belief that by introducing these management positions, that they're able to remobilize and kind of, you know, do these things. But then the question is, why not hire a mobilizer? Why would you want management? Why would you impose top-down organizing? It's very strange, and there's a lot of, I would say, anti-staff animus or sentiment that we're to blame for their lack of mobilizing. It makes absolutely no sense. And so that's one issue that wasn't actually directly raised at the bargaining table, but we know that's the whispers within their membership. At the bargaining table, they say they're not able to actually articulate why they want an executive director, other than we want more, you know, communication, we want administration, this and that. So we tried to deal with that piece by countering their proposal to be like, how about a staff coordinator, right? If you know, somebody from within the bargaining unit to do that work. And we're also fine with an in-house counsel so long as they're in the union. For us, we understand why they want an in-house counselor. It won't necessarily solve all their legal costs. So part of the problem is that their employer takes everything to arbitration. And so and they're spending a lot of money because rather than problem solving, they're having to take everything through litigation. So it makes sense that they want in-house lawyer that would kind of cut down on some of that costs. And we totally understand that. We provided them costing on how they can afford an in-house lawyer. But we said they're also doing a lot of the work that we're already doing. They're also belong in the union. We are in 2025, where thousands of lawyers across Canada are unionized, and they should be part of this. And so we're saying, when we countered that, being like, fine, they got to be in the union. You know, we got to work out what it is that they're going to do that staff isn't already doing. And we will agree to that. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Baolinh.
Yeah, the only thing that I would say is just a minor tweaking of or correction is that it's you know, the political work of the union is mostly driven by members itself, right? It's not the initiative of staff. Similarly to our union, we would, you know, as a union member myself, I would want to take charge of the political direction. And it's not that it's not our work to assist with that, but in the context of where the mobilizing and the politics are weak because there are resource constraints with respect to the labor relations rep being heavily involved in processing, handling grievances, and a general lack of coordination or a lack of initiative, I would say, towards this political mobilization in the membership. It's not like we have not tried from staff to present different configurations of things that can be worked on to amplify some of the grievances, policy grievances in particular, that have ramifications on everyone, right? So it's whether, you know, is the political arm working with the grievance arm. And at that point, that I would say that it is our work, actually. It's just that the priorities of the executive have never been, it changes, but how do we affect that change, right? Because this is a slate that wants to concentrate there. But like here, I'll give you a good concrete example or a material instance of, you know, some of the problems that we faced because of the workplace, because of the issues that we are pushing with respect to stronger health and safety language. We've got staff who are on leave, right? Extended leave. And in our collective agreement, they need to hire to replace that. So we're working beneath complement in an era, in a conjuncture where the employer has been, you know, at least for a couple of years now, their employer, York University, been taking the axe to their collective agreement and restructuring. So that's the only sort of addendum that I would make. And that is just to say that that work can be done by unionized staff. They don't need an ED to do this, and they certainly don't need an in-house counsel who, to be honest, we're all unionists. Legal advice tends to be risk averse, whereas the political mobilization pushes things a little bit further. So how do we coordinate all that? And that just requires time and resources. It does not require more management position to dictate, to the executive. But again, we don't really know what they have envisioned. Just recently, actually today, we were made aware of a job posting already that our executive committee has put on to Charity Village, seeking executive director, in-house lawyer, slash operations manager. And it is not entirely clear if they are seeking one position, two positions, or three. And you look at the salary and you look at all the things that they want to this or these roles to
Scab
do.
labor, I should add. This is scab labor, but yeah.
Yeah, so they put this out while we're on strike, right? Right in the middle of a strike. And on the heels of the employer providing overtures to talk at the table again. This is the context that we're facing in now, and we have to remember the York University Faculty Association is a certified labor union. So why is a union doing this to another union? When we've been using the word union busting the whole time, because there is no other way to describe what is happening to our collective agreement and to our workplace.
Wow, that is quite the description, I guess, as to what's going on. There's a lot to dive into, to kind of break down from that. I think, back even just at the beginning of that, when you said about the number of concessions being brought to the table, that's astronomical to hear that. And one thing I'm proud to say as a CUPE member, CUPE doesn't bargain concessions. So, to hear that even came forth, obviously warrants action. So I'm glad to see that your group has taken the steps, to push back against those concessions, because years of bargaining have taken place to get those things in the collective agreements. So we got to fight to protect those sorts of things, and what you're asking for isn't astronomical, right? Health and safety and anti-harassment. I mean, those are just things that employers you would think would want to give their employees, because it's going to better the workplace. It's going to better everything all around. And then you talked about the positions, and asking that those positions be created and be unionized positions. Absolutely would want those to be unionized positions. I mean, if I had it my way, I would organize every workplace in the world, because I believe everywhere should have a union. So I mean, those kinds of asks, and then for them asking, to saying they want better communications and things like that, and then you've put together proposals on how to correct these different issues, and your demands are still going, denied. There's so much going on that it's just kind of like, wow. I'm sitting here going, wow, like I did, when Nick and I did some research and everything as to what's going on, but you don't understand, sometimes when you read as when you hear it firsthand.
Most definitely. Most definitely. It is a complicated and complex struggle that we're waging.
Well, my biggest thing too is they brought lawyers in right off the hop. Like, you know what? I always say the employer and the employee, get them together. You can usually get something figured out. You bring a lawyer in, man, and you are literally pouring gasoline on a fire.
Not only any kind of lawyer, right, but a world investing law firm. Yeah.
Right.
There shouldn't even be anything like that. This could have been a very simple thing to get together and get an agreement on the table. When I'm hearing, slicing and dicing the collective agreement, when I hear union busting law firm coming in and wreaking havoc, if you will, that all to me is just complete and utter BS that should never have gotten to that point. But you didn't even get to a point. That's how you started the beginning of the negotiation.
Exactly.
So for you guys going through this, I mean, how are you managing to keep the what's the word I'm looking for? How are you keeping the morale up? How is the morale all around? There are a lot of people that are waiting and hoping and praying for something good. And I can imagine there are sleepless nights and concern. So I'll start with you, Mariful, on where are you at? How are you feeling with all this?
You know, you would think that with all this that we would be demoralized, but we've had so much support from other unions. The Ontario Federation of Labor, they had the convention happened last week. We info picketed and flyered there. So many people have came up to us, just asked us what's going on, and as soon as we tell them, they're like, "Oh my God." And then especially, oh my God, when it's like your employer's a union and a left-leaning union, like executive, this makes no sense. So the morale's been really up because of that kind of support that we've been getting externally like that. I think for me, that's been, and also just fundamentally believing that our cause is just, right? Our cause is just, and believing in that is very important because it is. And that keeps my morale high. That's me speaking for myself.
And fundamentally, it's part of what we do, right? As staff, we look at agreements, and there is no way we would ever counsel any UFA member to sign off on a tentative offer that involves the signing away of their own job security, baking in, as my coworker says, their own obsolescence for the future. We are 100% unionist. We have backgrounds in labor organizing, community organizing, grassroots community organizing on various social justice and economic justice issues dating back decades. So I think given that history, given our area of experience and our own politics around, what are union principles, a union that cannot defend against contracting out loses its moral ground, loses its raison d'etre, its reason for existing. So I think, we want to do CUPE justice as well. Chris, you mentioned you don't bargain concession. CUPE doesn't bargain concessions. And the reality is, we would never counsel that for UFA members to concede in this way with York. And I think there are obviously different positions among labor leaders. Some do not see or do not agree with our position at all as union staff, pointing out the salaries that we earn, the benefits that we have. But by that logic, why should anybody go and strike? Why should anybody unionize? The whole point is to push the envelope, to bring better terms for workers, to bring a certain respect at the workplace, language that protects the work, that provides good livelihoods. And so I think, as Mariful said, we know the justice of this struggle, and we see that we have a good collective agreement. It is worth defending. It is worth extending. The language that we win can be used by other unions.
Yeah, it makes me happy to hear when you mentioned the Ontario Federation of Labor being a federation president, involving them as well. So be partaking in that. And congratulations, we'll say, to Laura Walton on her re-election as federation president in Ontario. Now I'm thinking about our platform. Obviously, this is coast to coast and what we do. So hopefully, we have some listeners from your area. So what would be a message that you'd like to send out to your members and to the people in the area on how they can support?
I feel like I've done a lion's share of chatting, so I'm going to throw this one into your lap.
I mean, one of the things that help us, other than obviously visiting us on our sort of complicated picket line situation, is if you're able to organize your own local and your executive to write a letter of support publicly, calling out UFA and, providing support for us, that would be something very good. We have an e-action that's been floating like a petition thing. Well, I don't know if the word petition is correct, but just like an e-action that you fill out and it automatically sends a letter to them. It shows that there's strength in numbers, right? That would be good. I'm sure I'm missing something here. My brain's a little bit, I'm also tired from the day today. But really, yeah, reaching out to us and directly asking us how, what folks can do. Donating to our strike fund would be fantastic. It is like it's week 5. We don't know how long this is going to keep going. We're determined to go as long as we win. And so, yeah, those are some of the things that just came to the top of my mind.
What I'm going to do also for you guys while we're here, you guys are very important to us. You guys are our comrades, and everything going on with you, you may not think it or you may not feel it, but it affects us too here in Atlantic Canada. Not only am I going to have the QR code for people to scan, if you guys look now, you can see it at the bottom of your screen. So I encourage you to scan it, guys. And that way, there, we can make sure that we show solidarity and we stand behind them during this. And then also, I am going to write a letter on behalf of CUPE Talk in the Maritimes and have that sent as well, because the way I look at it is we're 800,000 strong and we are going to fight every fight together, whether we are there in person or not. There are multiple tools to let employers know that we're here. And that's the best part about this show, is that there's no news that can say, oh, let's edit out all this stuff. Oh, let's make it look this way for the employer. Nobody can do that. When me and Chris are at the helm and we're running CUPE Talk in the Maritimes, we're able to give the right information, the truth, and there's no editing, and it is just the way it's supposed to be, so that members can stand behind you all on that picket line and be there in spirit and show solidarity to you all.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And
that's what it's about, right? Showing solidarity. I mean, not only from your own regions, but like Nick said, across Atlantic Canada and across the Maritime region where we are, and all the different unions that listen to our show. So again, we would just want to say thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules. I know, we were on strike in 2021. We know there's a lot that goes with it. There's a lot of moving parts and a lot of ins and outs. So again, we just want to say thank you for taking the time to jump on with us and to let the members know what's going on. And we'll continue to do follow-ups with you as we go along the way to find out what's going on. But again, if we need to ramp something up, or if there's e-petitions or anything like that, we'll make sure that we have it on our Facebook pages and YouTubes and things like that, so that we can also do our job, I'll say, and show solidarity from over here as well. So again, on behalf of Nick and I and CUPE Talk in the Maritimes, we just want to say thank you.
Thank you guys so
Thank
much.
you, and solidarity.
Yeah.